Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Today the light of love shines on you, and things are looking real, real good for you. You know, we're going places now, and we're not really stopping along the way to catch our breath. You know, it's time of ascendancy, which means the raising up of consciousness into the higher realms, or the bringing of the higher realms into this state of consciousness, this little virtual reality in which we live. Now we've talked about vortex energies and the vortex places. Energy is how the vortex works. Place is where it happens, where the two worlds come together. And there is a new beginning because of that. Meaning, the virtual world in which we live, which is kind of created in the imagination of God, more or less, and the reality, which is paradise, which is the place where we all live, where we're dreaming this existence into being. It's a difficult concept, no matter how much someone explains it to you, until you begin to live it. And that's when it changes. That's when it rearranges, and you start becoming a better being, a better person. Because you know, deep down inside, and from what you're living, that the realm of spirit is real. That it's not something we've imagined or wished into being because we want some way out of the misery of life, some way to justify our existence and so forth. No. It's truth. It's what's there. It's what's in our heart, but not just there. It's out here, in the real world. We don't have to imagine anything because we've imagined everything already, all the way through time. And now there's like this mystery of history. Our current history books are so polluted. No one wants to tell you the truth of the past, yet it's written inside of you. So if you want to know that truth, you want to know that heart, and the true experience of humanity in the virtual world and what's behind it, then you go inside. You find that centering place. Use the little key we gave you back in the second video. Use that key. Tune in. Try no longer to separate yourself from the heart. Create the union inside of you, and the union becomes you. And it's a very real thing. In other words, see into yourself, feel the centering, and know of the interference from darkness, which always tries to take your mind away and drift you off in another direction when you're centering yourself, when you're bringing yourself into that appreciative place where you love what you're feeling and feel what you're loving, and begin to understand the nature of creation within you, how it expands and grows in a delightful sort of way, because it's delighted to be you. No matter what your shape or form is, no matter your situation in life, you can be the darkest dude on earth, or the greatest, lightest goddess, the most beautiful being ever created. And we're still overjoyed to be that person. See how that works? It's an amazing thing, guys. When we start to realize that every moment we're alive, we live in ecstatic joy. Now, of course, I'm talking about what you're going through on the soul level. The soul being the interrogatory being, its own little vortex between higher self and physical presence, in the virtual world. There's a reason why we talk like this. It's leading somewhere, It's a transition. It's a move. But anyway, at your soul level, what you're living there, what you may not yet be conscious of, but are beginning to tap into because it's there in the center of your being. And there's only this little covering of darkness, this little block we've allowed to be placed in ourselves that keeps it away from us. See how that works? You go inside, you feel the center heart. You begin to visualize its presence. You feel its energy flowing upward and outward in all directions. And you begin to understand the nature of creation. And after a while, as long as you can keep coming back, returning to this state, after a while, there comes an awakening where you do begin to realize that you live in ecstatic joy, that you love this life. Every single moment of it. From the time you first pooped your own first diaper till the time you draw your last breath. You're loving every moment of it. And there's nothing keeping you from living it, from feeling it as you live it. Now, it seems we all have difficulty holding that state to really see that we do love this life. It seems like it's almost impossible to know that because we've got so much downward energy. But our love is our life, and our life is our love. We love every single spectacular moment. And those moments build on moments, build on moments, which leads to a great leap in expansion, in consciousness of all that lives because of the ecstatic joy. Now understand the reason why it's a little hard to get there is we've chosen this method of compression inside. A dulling down of our dimensional senses. A place where we feel low self-worth and low self-esteem, feel as if we're separate from God, creation, and that nothing really matters except just to stay alive. But something underneath there in that compression is still moving us along and keeping us going. It's that joy, of course, that ecstatic joy. But we've chosen this compression to put us down inside of the heart and almost away from the heart to the point where we can't even see it anymore. Because as we compress in these dense and dark experiences, many of them are light too, but we'll call them dark for now, because that part of the compression is how we kind of implode, but it's not an explosion. It's compression. Pulling it together in a dark sort of way. So we feel the density, gravity, the weight of everything. Oh man, look at this. Stooped over shoulders, your heavy weight on my back. Oh my, oh. Bad burden. Oh, why am I so blessed? You see the compression. The more you can take of the darkness in this experiential world, the virtual world, the more you can take of that the greater expansion. When you begin to know, when you begin to remember who you are and what you're all about. So, you understand why there's a little difficulty, because we've chosen a method for ourselves. And some beings have taken on extreme darkness. Oh, God. In order to bring forward extreme light. And remember, what's light? Love. Radiant love. So yeah, there is a time coming for you personally, for Earth in expansion, where it's kind of similar to an atomic explosion, but not one that's destructive and tears everything apart and breaks it down to subnuclear matter, subnuclear particles, but one that tears away all the illusions we've ever created and changes life so completely that there won't be a speck of it recognizable, so to speak. It'll be that different from what we know, because we are in that moment of expansion, going back to the point of creation, where we began it in the first place, and renewing ourselves there and bring ourselves forward consciously into this time, so that now, as we experience here, that experience is there as well, and they are together, and they are one experience. Creator and creating and creation, living in consciousness, conscious of the great love of life and the experience in it, and of how greatly we've compressed ourselves to bring about this expansion. This is perhaps the greatest moment of love ever known. And in those darker beings and presences that exist here, seem to influence us, try to take our magic away and so on, is the hardest effort, the most compression, the deepest, darkest feeling that you can imagine. These had to be strong beings to endure this. And we had to draw them in to ourselves. We had to bring them to the human experience, to the earth, the Mother Earth. Took them back into her womb, her little playground here, inside of her humans, which we have become, in order that we work through every dynamic and exponential possibility within the darker feelings, the darker way of awareness, the hatred and the rage, the self-hatred, the hatred of creation, the lust that comes from the emptiness, all those experiences combined. And we've taken it out to the infinite possibilities. We've lived through every bit of it because the darkness invaded us and took us over, more or less, so that we could live it and act out its presence in a way that it could not without destroying itself. More or less. Another way of speaking of it anyway. It's a concept, a way of looking at it. But now, as we continue centering ourselves, and look for those, use those vortex energies to find the vortex places inside of ourselves, we bring consciousness to the deadest beings there ever were or ever will be. The entities the presences we've taken inside of ourselves as human beings and made a part of ourselves and worked through every dynamic of its experience. And in fact, it is ourselves. It's as much as part of us as anything else. A fingernail, a whisker. It's us. It's you. But it ain't evil any longer. It's becoming new life because of the love of this life on the soul level, in the soul presence, which is your personal person, that's brought you through all this, that's kept you, well, mobile, moving, experiencing, and going when it seems so impossible to go on, and living under the controls of the beings of darkness that just love to rule over the world. Oh, we got the world, we got the world. Bring them back to love. That'd be some of the biggest teddy bears you ever seen. There's no point any longer in harboring this fear of unconsciousness, of death. We're here to supersede such concepts. And your presence knows it, feels it, loves it, thirsts for it. You go down, when you're in this meditative state, to the deepest, darkest lust that you have. And beneath that, what do you see? A loneliness that leads you home. Because you can't stand the pain of the separation any longer. You finally have had enough. And when you get there, that's when that presence within you understands and becomes a being of light again and realizes, despite the compression it's chosen for itself, the love of life has remained within it forever and ever, and it is a part of the greater conscious truth, a whole being in person that is love, created of love, made of love, and is loved continually, and is loving them because of that. Now you see how truth works. It's a liberating thing. It takes you to those levels that these words can only describe. But the energy that you're feeling now, that's within your presence, is there to liberate you from every restriction you've ever placed on yourself, to unleash the boundless possibilities of your love lived in ecstatic joy, an appreciative presence. And all we do is become conscious that we are appreciating every moment. The difficulty, the extreme, and back again. All of it. The hanging toenail that won't go away causes you such pain. The little illnesses that keep coming back again and again. The nagging wife or husband. The bratty kids that talk back to you and won't behave, and so on and so forth. You know what I mean? There are all these little agonies we've created for self. Spark plugs that don't work. Cars that roll over if you breathe on them. Things like that. I mean, there's so many flaws. But they're just another part of the greater part of existence. We bring it all together now. It's truth. It's consciousness. It's experiencing the new reality which is the real life, which loves itself. My goodness, I tell you guys, we are rocking and rolling this morning and tonight and wherever we go. Because you experienced this little moment here with old Grandpa Coyote, you're not going to live the same anymore. You know, it might be little by little, it might be a big old wallop, depends on your present state, your present level, but you're not going to be able to hang on to the old depressing and dark thoughts the way you have before. It's time to let these go, to renew yourself inside, in that vortex place where you truthfully live. There is the universal junction, right here in your heart. That's where it is, baby. Center heart, center love. And God, do we love this life. Now hang on, I got more to go, but we'll be back with you in the next session. Appreciate your life. See that you do appreciate it. Know it. Feel it. Come clean within that. It's time, babies. Papa loves you so much, and that's just your own love reflecting back to you. Because we are the singular presence of God in creation. Think about it.